Hello and welcome to this webinar. Today we're going to be talking about leadership in a small business. My name is Nick Bettis and I've been helping business owners to run their business better for over 10 years. I'll tell you more about my background shortly. Because you're on this webinar, I'm guessing you're a business owner who'd like to become a better leader in order to improve the performance of your business. Lots of my clients come to me with the same problem. Today I'm going to be showing you the techniques I use to help them become better leaders. We're going to be talking about the importance of leadership and how you can develop your own leadership skills by applying 5 leadership techniques in your business. I'm just going to share a file with you on the screen now. So you should be seeing a download link to the seminar workbook on the screen. I'll be giving you a brief description as we get to each exercise, so you might want to print your workbook now or have something handy in which to jot down your answers. You've got a few minutes before we get to the first exercise. When we do get to each exercise, I'll give you a minute to get started and make sure you understand it, and then I suggest you complete the exercises straight after the webinar while the topic is fresh in your mind. You also have a chat window on your screen. Feel free to comment or ask questions at any time. If time permits, I'll answer them during the webinar, otherwise I'll answer them by email afterwards. I'd like to take a minute to briefly introduce myself. After a career working for these corporates on the left, I set up as a business coaching consultant working with SMEs. I've worked with around 100 business owners like you over the last 10 years, and from this I've developed the business growth methodology, part of which we're going to be covering today. When I'm not at work, I play golf, I play in a local band, that's me, second from right, the tall handsome one, and I support Portsmouth Football Club. Here's a picture of my sons and me at Wembley when we won the FA Cup. I'm speaking to you from my office, which is about 30 miles west of London here in the UK. Here are the areas I'm going to talk about. I'm guessing you already believe that leadership matters, which is why you're here. But we're going to look at why it matters. Then we're going to go through, in some detail, 5 leadership behaviors that you can apply in your own business. Those are better communication, creating purpose, letting go, managing performance, and sharing the rewards. I'm going to finish with some suggested next steps for you, and also a wonderful offer that I'm pretty excited about. There's no theory in this webinar. I'm going to talk you through actionable changes you can make in the way that you run your business that will make you a better leader. By the way, you'll see down the right-hand side of the slides a bar, and that shows you where we are in the webinar at all times. So why does leadership matter? Leadership is about your employees. It is about you helping them to be more productive, more accountable, and more fulfilled. This means your customers will be happier, your costs will be lower, and your results will be better. A quick online search will turn up loads of research that demonstrates the link between leadership and business performance. The problem is that most business owners have never really been shown how to lead. The key to leadership is effective communication. Think of a great leader of past or current times, and the chances are you'll be thinking about a great communicator. When we look at the other leadership changes in the rest of this seminar, they all require good communication to work. So I suppose I better clarify what I mean by good communication. The only useful way to judge a communication is by the response of the recipient. To be useful, this must start with understanding, then create emotion, and finally, action. Clearly, you must craft each communication to achieve the understanding, emotion, and action that you're looking for. If your communication produces bafflement or indifference, then it hasn't been effective. While we're here, I'd better clarify what I mean by communication, which is anything designed to achieve the above. Could be an email, text, this webinar, a political rally, TV series, and so on. Here are some ways to make your communication effective. First, keep it simple. Tabloid newspapers pay people a lot of money to create headlines which capture a story in a couple of words. Second, make it two-way. Make sure your communication is designed to elicit a response and that you listen and engage with that response. You don't just mark time until it's your turn to broadcast again. Third, use stories. They create emotion and are memorable. Any communication can be presented as a story. We're going to look at each of those areas now. Unfortunately, creating a simple message takes longer than creating a complicated one. Often it means stripping out long words and surplus information from your first attempt and reorganizing the remainder so that the story flows. As a starting point, make sure that each communication focuses on a single message and a single desired response. Like many things in life, this gets easier with practice. I'd like you to take a look at exercise 1 now. This replicates the communication shown on the screen, which I'd like you to simplify in the workbook. I'll give you a minute to do that. Don't forget, I'm not expecting you to complete all these exercises right now. Here goes. I hope you found that exercise in simple messaging useful. Here's my attempt in red. Although I must confess, I'm still not sure if this is what that paragraph actually means. Don't worry if you haven't finished the exercise. You can complete the workbook after the webinar. You need to be a good two-way communicator to be a good leader. When employees complain about poor management communication, they don't usually mean they aren't being told stuff. They mean they aren't being listened to. If you want your employees to engage with and get excited about the purpose of the organization and their role in achieving this, then you must listen to their opinions. Your communication must be designed to encourage them to speak up. Here are some approaches that good two-way communicators use to achieve that. Asking the right questions is an incredibly powerful way of communicating, even if you think you know the answer. You must be interested in the answers and open to having your position changed as a result. You don't need to always have the best answer. Employees may not always be comfortable discussing things outside their normal working remit, and so you need to make this non-threatening and, if at all possible, fun. Here are some things that you can use to make communications two-way and more fun. Try to make all your communications flow like a story. Stories have impact and are memorable. They have a beginning, middle, and end, heroes and villains, and a moral payload or truth. And you can apply this to anything: a sales presentation, a weekly report, a strategy. Your strategy might be quite a thick document. If you want people to understand it and remember it, present it like a story. Of course, your story doesn't contain all the detail of the full strategy, but would you rather your listeners heard and remembered the essence of your strategy, or heard and immediately forgot the full thing? My favourite example of this, by the way, and this is apocryphal and I can find no evidence for it, is the story that Canon Printing once had the mission statement, quote, "kill Xerox," unquote. Now that's communication. These are the most important words a leader can say. Now I want to move on and talk about purpose. Employee accountability, productivity, and commitment to the organization are based on sharing the ideals and vision for that organization. It follows that you, as a leader, should spend a large part of your time creating and sustaining that shared purpose. People give this purpose different names, and it may have different elements such as vision, mission statement, strategy, strategic purpose. It doesn't matter what you call it. To be shared, creating this purpose must involve two-way communication, as previously discussed. It must be your employees' vision, and not just yours. This is not a one-off exercise, although coming up with the first written draft might be. Thereafter, the leader must take every opportunity to repeat, discuss, reinforce, and refine the purpose. So every time you have an opportunity to talk with employees, you bring the purpose into the conversation. To be motivating, the purpose must be something that you and your employees feel is worthwhile. You must feel a strong desire to achieve it. It needs to be exciting. Now, if you are NASA, for instance, then that isn't too difficult. But what if you're a plumbing company? Well, correctly communicated, quote, being the best plumbing company in town X, unquote, is motivational enough. The world is full of businesses in quite ordinary industries that have compelling visions and motivated staff. The point is, it's not the brilliance of the purpose or its earth-shaking results that are motivating. It's being a valued part of something worthwhile and being a valued part of something successful. That's the feeling that you as a leader are trying to engender in employees. Your purpose must be credible. You must all believe that it's possible. The part of the purpose that explains how it will be achieved is often called the strategy. To be shared, the purpose must contain something of your employees' beliefs and aims. It can't just be yours. Here's a core truth about leadership. To be a leader, you must give up some control. And the more powerful a leader you become, the more control you give up. I'd like you to try exercise 2 now and start to think about the purpose of your business. I'll give you a minute to do that. Don't forget you can use the chat window to raise any questions or to make comments. I hope you found thinking about your purpose was useful. Don't worry if you haven't finished the exercise, you can complete the workbook after the webinar. So, leaders create a shared purpose and trade a little control for a lot more power. Leaders help others achieve more. To do this, leaders let go. They help others become more accountable, more productive, and to make decisions. Your aim must be to delegate everything you do and every decision you make. This won't happen overnight. In fact, you may fully achieve this. But once you've mastered delegation, you have a key element in building a scalable business. So let's talk about how to delegate. I'll start with a definition. Delegation is the passing of the responsibility for achieving a business result to someone who is willing and able or has the potential to take that responsibility. The point is, it's not a task you delegate, but the responsibility for and the ownership of a business result. Here's the delegation framework. While these things are not strictly necessary for delegation to happen, they will help you delegate well and consistently. In practice, these things are often drafted early on in this process and then refined over time as delegation in the real world throws up opportunities and highlights problems. Your organization chart shows reporting lines and authority. It shows everyone who their boss is and who they're responsible for. This makes sure that when you delegate to someone, they can control the desired outcome by deploying the necessary resources. Job descriptions are an agreement about what a person is responsible for and how results will be measured. It captures what has been or is to be delegated. Process descriptions, you may call them something like standard operating procedures, explain in detail how to carry out a task to achieve a desired result. If they don't exist, they need to be created during delegation. So just a note on those three things. The point of these is to stimulate communication. They're not an end in themselves. There's no point having a complete set of polished job descriptions, and a tick in the job description box if they're not used to increase people's accountability and sense of ownership of the business. Your delegation plan sets out the timetable for delegating everything you do and the roles to which these things are to be delegated. The timescale may be many years, and there may be initially be gaps and question marks, but it should also show some full detail about things you can delegate straight away. In practice, delegation is initially driven by opportunity or need or frustration rather than a plan, which is developed as you get more comfortable with delegating and you start to see the benefits of delegating. The next few slides explain the delegation process. What to delegate is often forced upon you by circumstance, but if you can take a more proactive approach, use the delegation plan to identify those activities that firstly consume most of your time, secondly require the least experience and knowledge, and thirdly add least value in terms of business results, and delegate these first. Make sure you have a clear scope for the thing to be delegated, something called, quote, credit control, unquote, or quote, marketing, unquote, for instance, will need further definition. The person to delegate to may be obvious. They may, for instance, already carry the relevant title or be doing the task without being responsible for the result. On the other hand, it may not be obvious, perhaps requiring a new role or reporting line. Establishing whether the person selected wants to take on the additional responsibility is important. You cannot just foist it on them and expect it to work. Even if someone is called ex-manager and in theory should already be responsible for it, if in practice they simply do your bidding and don't own the results, you still need to go through this process of establishing that they will accept the responsibility. If they're up for it, then that's great. You both need to assess any gaps in capability and agree a development plan to address these gaps. On the other hand, if someone declines the additional responsibility, yet is currently in the role that should take that responsibility, then you need to start some kind of HR process to remove or reposition them, having first developed your plan B. That is, who do you think should be doing this role? So this brings out another core element of leadership, which is being courageous enough to make difficult decisions for the greater good and the long term. I know that my clients are making progress when the first energy sapper is fired or leaves. I also know when a client is struggling when they persist in trying to build a winning team with the wrong people. The definition of success should be unambiguous. For instance, deliveries or something binary, for instance, remain compliant with regulation X. Defining how to carry out a task is often a challenge for business owners. The way you do it is instinctive and has evolved over years. It's not written down anywhere. It lives really just between your ears. The start point is to accept that any task can be described and taught. You know, if you can teach a computer and a robot to do brain surgery, you can teach someone to run a plumbing business. Show the person to whom it is to be delegated how to do the task. And this may range from showing them how to complete a simple form to you having to think deeply about how you are successful in sales, and then putting this into words and coaching them, and then, you know, taking them on sales meetings with you and then letting them run the meetings. This could take months. Now, however complex the task you're delegating is, get them to document it. So these things need to go into your operating manual for the business. This is a great opportunity to capture the way your business works so you can train other people, delegate to other people in the future. Final point, don't be half-hearted about delegation. I often see this, and it takes the form of handing the employee responsibility, but not changing their job title, not telling anybody, not giving them control of the necessary resources, quote, until they've shown they can do it, unquote. And this is a recipe for failure. Instead, choose a person and then commit wholeheartedly to helping them succeed. After you've delegated the responsibility, review performance regularly against the definition of success. These reviews are designed to educate and improve performance by helping the employee to understand what affects performance and what she can do to control it. Coach them rather than control them. Ask questions, don't provide answers. Build their confidence and authority, and build your own confidence in them. When things go wrong, and they will go wrong, make sure you both learn from it and position the experience so it increases her confidence rather than undermining it. Don't take back control. That last point should be in capital letters. I'd like you to try exercise 3 now. It asks you to think about accountability in your business. I hope you found it useful to reflect on delegation and accountability in your business. I suggest that you complete the exercise after this webinar while things are still fresh in your mind. Leaders let go and instead spend their time creating a future for their business. Leaders improve performance, which means improving the performance of individual employees. You can't increase someone's motivation from the outside. It must come from inside them. The role of a leader is to find ways to help employees develop their own motivation and belief that they can do more. This process starts with an agreed definition of what good looks like. We talked about defining outcomes under delegation a few minutes ago. Avoid the temptation to apply incentivization to this target. This will get in the way of learning and reduce intrinsic motivation. Regular performance reviews are essential to develop accountability. These reviews allow you to coach the employee and develop a shared mental model of how better performance can be achieved. Each review is an opportunity to develop that employee's accountability. You reinforce their responsibility to achieve the desired result, and you reinforce your confidence in them. So I'd like you to look at the last exercise now, exercise 4, which asks you about performance in your business. I hope you found it useful to think about how you manage performance. Leaders help others achieve more. I want to move on to our final topic for today, which is sharing the rewards. The fundamental assumption here, of course, is that by leading better, having a shared purpose, managing performance, there will be better financial results, so more rewards to share. I want to make the point here that money is an extrinsic reward. It doesn't motivate people for the long term. So we're not talking about an incentivization scheme here. We're talking about a way of sharing the improved results, sharing the rewards. So for purpose to be truly shared, the rewards of achieving that purpose must be shared and an effort recognized. We're going to talk about 4 ways you could do this in your business, but the first one is increasing salaries. This is the simplest way to share rewards. However, it does lock in costs for the business, so business owners are sometimes a bit hesitant about doing this. The second way, you can link reward to individual performance. This is common in the corporate world, but as well as having the demotivating side that I referred to a few minutes ago, it also puts a lot of stress on what you're trying to do. You're trying to get these people to become more accountable, to trust you, to believe they can do more, and putting explicit individual targets and reward on that puts a lot of stress on it. Share options are often used by startups to bring key employees on board, people they couldn't otherwise afford to match their market rate. The intention to float or sell the business quite soon makes this attractive to these people. There's a chance of a big payout. However, this approach is, I think, less suitable for more established businesses and their employees, who might prefer, money to pay bills. The final technique you can think about is profit sharing, which is a really popular way to share the rewards. It's simple, but it has a couple of things you need to think about. Firstly, you need a solid budget. So you need good understanding of your management accounts, of your past performance, and a good solid budget for the bonus, the profit share period. And you also need to be clear about the definition of profit. You can imagine an unscrupulous business owner can, in effect, make profit whatever he or she wants it to be. So, a couple of things to think about, but a good simple scheme to share rewards. To sum up, leadership is the most important factor in business success. Leadership can be learned by implementing some practical business changes. These are not complicated, but they take time and persistence. We've covered creating purpose, letting go, managing performance, and sharing rewards. All of these things are underpinned by communication. Leaders are good communicators. I've just about finished now. I know that you're a flexible and open-minded business owner, and that's why I'm confident that you can join these similar business owners who, with my help, started to lead people differently. So I've run through how to develop as a leader pretty quickly. We've covered a lot of ground. I hope you've picked up some useful pointers to improve in your own leadership skills. You can consolidate some of that learning by completing your workbook. However, we've only just scratched the surface, and until they invent a machine to transfer knowledge straight into your brain, you will probably need a bit more help. Which is why I want to finish by making you an offer that will provide this help so that you can be really confident about developing these leadership skills. Now, before I go on, I have a small request to make. I'm going to show you a poll on the screen, and it asks you to let me know how useful you've found this webinar. So would you mind answering this simple question? Clicking one or the other of the buttons. Okay, I can see people clicking there. That's great. All positive stuff. A couple of seconds more. Okay. Thank you so much. That will really help me with marketing this and future webinars. So I was talking about helping you become a better leader. And I've developed this online program especially for people like you, business owners who think differently about business. After all, that's why you're on this webinar. The program is online, so you can access it whenever and wherever you like. Now, you understand that leadership is about results. So do I, and so does the program. There's no theory, just practical leadership changes and how to make them. The course is packed with how-to videos, tools and techniques that show you how to master the techniques we've talked about today, day by day, for real, in your business. Over the 5 modules, each build into a complete leadership manual that will serve you for years. The course includes progress checklists and our unique business angels to help you develop good leadership habits and, become alert to bad leadership habits. And you also get a chance to work with the guy who created small business leadership. That's me. I'm the handsome chap there, and I'll be there when you need support. So the program is results focused, and it starts with your objectives. It helps you set concrete improvement targets, both for you as a leader and for your business. And as mentioned, the course includes progress checklists and leadership angels to keep you focused and motivated to achieve these things. There's no theory, just practical leadership steps to take for real in your business. Now, before we move on to dealing with some of the questions, I'd like to make an offer here that makes this course even more compelling. So on your screen, you should be seeing an offer. It's a thank you for attending this webinar. So it's only open to the people on this webinar. It's only open for a short time. And what you're getting is the whole course, all the complete program, all the tools, all the content, all the support from me for half price. You need to be quick though. This offer won't last long. You can get to it just by clicking the button on the screen. You register using the voucher code displayed, and in a few seconds, you will be starting your leadership journey. Now, I can feel your finger or mouse hovering over that register now button, and you're wondering, why should I pay for this program after attending this webinar? After all, you know what to do now, right? Well, that would really be a false economy. Why spend weeks and months trying to do this by trial and error when, for a tiny investment, you can get quicker, better results? Some of you might be thinking, well, I'd really like to do this. I really want to change. But, I'm just so busy right now. Now, here's the thing. You will never not be too busy, because the problem is not in the outside world. It's not in your business. It's in you. It's between your ears. It's the way you lead people now. If you don't take this opportunity to change now, the chances are you will carry on struggling for the long term. Okay, well, that's it. We've got some time left for questions. I'll deal with those that have been posted on the chat so far. Please post any others, still open. Post any others that you think of now. So here's a question from Sandy. She says, I'm not great at written communication or standing up doing presentations. So, Sandy, I guess your point is effective communication is difficult for you. You're worried that it's going to be difficult for you, and so you find it difficult to become a leader, a better leader. Well, the answer is to find a way to communicate that works for you, and to turn what you perceive as a weakness into a strength. We give some guidance on this in the course, but essentially, don't do the things you hate. So if you don't like standing up in front of a crowd doing a presentation, don't make that part of your communication strategy or technique. Okay, next question is from Morris. He asks, what if I do all this stuff and the business tanks? There will be nothing to share. All right, good question, Morris. You're a business owner. You know that you're going to have good and bad times in any business. The thing is, if you're leading well and following the stuff I'm talking about here and the stuff I teach on the course, then employees are on your side. They see the good or bad results as their results. For many business owners, you have a good year and the employees shrug and think, well, boss will get a new car or a new house. And you have a bad year and the employees shrug and say, well, it's not my problem and the boss can afford it. You want to move beyond that as a leader. You want to get them all on the same team as you. Okay, Pete has a question. Well, it's more of a statement, really. Okay, this is a good one. I've tried all this vision thing with pictures on the wall. Staff just ignored it. All right, Pete. Well, I mean, that's a good question. Okay, that's a sign that they never owned the vision. In fact, if you had pictures on the wall, it sounds like that you didn't own the vision either. You just bought someone else's idea of what a vision looked like. I mean, the way I've described it today and the way the course teaches it means that you can only have a vision that's shared. only counts if it's shared. You don't need pictures on a wall. All right, so Maya's asking a question here. Okay, I'm not sure I quite understand that one, Maya. So Maya, drop me an email offline, and we'll have a conversation offline about that. Moving on, Robert says, my employees would just want more money to do anything more. How do you get around that? Well, Robert, there's nothing wrong with that question, an employee asking that question. It means they recognize the extra value they're providing. And, in a sales situation, you'd call that a buy signal, right? It allows you to reinforce the fact that your objectives and their objectives are aligned, and, that you're willing to share the rewards. We talk about this in a bit more detail on the course, but, this is not a bad or dangerous question to be asked. It's a good question. All right, time for one more. Eloise says, what if you don't have a profit? Okay, I think that must relate to the profit share slide. The answer is that you design the scheme to operate on additional profit. So you have your budgeted profit, and then the pot for the employee profit share scheme comes out of additional profit to that. So you don't make a loss just because of the profit share scheme. We cover this in some detail on the course with templates and mechanisms and guidance on how to actually implement a profit share scheme in your business. Well, we're out of time now. I'll answer your questions I didn't get around to. I'll answer them by email. Thanks again for taking part. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did. And I'm really looking forward to working with you, or some of you, to become better leaders. So I'll see you on the course. Okay. Thanks and goodbye.